guys, it's Molly, and I'm back to finish Fortunately the Milk by Neil Gaiman. Today we're just going to read the rest of the book. If you remember where we left off last, one of the umpires, the lady umpire, accidentally pressed a button that pushed them forward 6 hours in time, and so the space hole, or what did I say? Yeah, the hole in space opened up again. So let's find out what happens next in Fortunately the Milk. So the hole in space opened again. A voice shouted, "Catch!" and the milk came rocketing through. Fortunately, the milk struck me in the stomach, and in clutching my hands to my belly, I caught the milk. "There," said the professor, "everything is back to normal." He did say he'd explain later, I pointed out, and that wasn't much of an explanation. "But it's not later yet," said Professor Stegg. "It's still now. It won't be later until later." He was arranging pebbles and stones and string on the top of the time machine box. "Final coordinates entered," he said, "and then it's off to your house for breakfast." "Does that mean that there is a stegosaurus in a hot air balloon outside?" I asked my dad. Remember, that's the sun speaking there. "There is not," he said, "for reasons that will become apparent. I think that there should have been some nice umpires," said my sister wistfully. "Nice, handsome, misunderstood umpires." "There were not," said my father. Here's another illustration. The hopeful little sister hoping for umpires. For nice umpires. "Would you like to press the button?" said Professor Stegg. I pressed the red button. There was an ear-popping noise and a flicker of years, and I was floating in a balloon basket above the intersection of Marshall Road and Fletcher Lane. I could see our house from above. I could see the bicycles in the back garden. I could see the rabbit hutch. "We're here," I said, and I patted Professor Stegg on the back ridge plates. "It was very nice having you as a traveling companion," said the professor, because there was a familiar sort of thump-thump noise, and before I had a chance to press the red button, we were deposited, balloon and all, on the enormous metal deck of a flying saucer, with a number of very grumpy-looking green globby people staring at us with too many eyes. They did not look pleased. "Ha ha!" said several globby people at the same time. "You thought you had escaped us, and you were wrong. Now you must sign the planet over to us so that we can remodel it. We will take out all the trees for a start and put in plastic flamingos." "Why?" "We like plastic flamingos. We think they are the highest and finest art form from that Earth has achieved, and they are tidier than trees." Tidier than trees. "Also, we are going to replace the clouds with scented candles." "We like scented candles too," explained a huge green globby person who looked like he was mostly made of snot. "We also like decorative plates," said another. "We will put a decorative plate up where the moon is now. A really big decorative plate showing landmarks of the world." And here's the green globby alien. Very silly aliens. "And we will then replace all of the landmarks of the world with decorative plates with pictures of landmarks on them too, so the Eiffel Tower will be replaced by a large plate with a picture of the Eiffel Tower on it. And Australia will be replaced by a really seriously big plate with Australia on it. Also, we will replace all of your mountains with throw cushions," said the smallest, globbiest thing of all with triumph in his gluttonous voice. "We have learned a lot from our previous meeting," said some globs that were sticking to a wall. "If you look over there, you will see that the door to the space-time continuum you used to escape through last time is now securely locked." It was definitely locked. It had a huge padlock on it, and a sign saying "Keep Out" on it, in unfriendly red letters. There were also chains around it, a tape that said "Do not cross," and a handwritten notice that said, "For your convenience, please use another door." Escape was impossible. "Also, we have depowered your time machine." I looked at the professor. His armored back flaps were drooping, and his tail was, well, not actually between his legs, because stegosauruses aren't made that way, but if they were, it would have been. "We have been tracking your movements through time and space," said a large globby alien in front of a console with a screen on it. "Now see what happens when I press this Grundledorfer," said a particularly drippy alien. It was half sticking to the wall next to a large black shiny button. "It's called a button," I said. "Nonsense. We named it after our brooding aunt, Nessie Grundledorfer," said the globby aliens. The particularly drippy alien pressed the black button on the metal wall with something that might have been a finger and might just have been a long strand of snot. There was a crackle and there was a fizz. Standing around us in attitudes of anger and irritation were several pirates, some of the black-haired people from the jungle, a very unhappy-looking volcano god, a large bowl filled with piranhas, and some vampires. Got the whole gang. Got the whole crazy group of crazy people. And here's another illustration of them all together. Hopefully you can see that clearly. I love all the illustrations in this book. "I'm not sure that I understand what the piranhas are doing," said my sister. "They were from a narrow escape earlier that I forgot to mention," said our father. "Fortunately, the milk floated at a crucial moment, and it all ended for the best." "I thought it might," said my sister. She's like, "Where'd the piranhas come from?" "Uh-oh," I said. "Prepare to be keel-hauled, you scurvy dogs," shouted the pirates. "Let us now sacrifice them both to great Splod," shouted the men with shiny black hair. "They stole my eye twice," rumbled mighty Splod. "We want those villains and varmints violently wound up," proclaimed a tall lady vampire with long fingernails. The piranhas said nothing, but they thrashed about in their bowl ominously. Couldn't really do much, but they were really thrashing around, trying to intimidate. "Doomed," moaned Professor Stagg. "We cannot escape. They have frozen us in time and depowered us. Even my mighty time machine can do no more than open a small window in time and space, smaller than either of us could get through." "But can you do it?" I asked. "Open a little window in time to our last location?" "Of course. But what good would that do?" "Quickly," I said. "Do it." Professor Stagg pushed the button on the box with the tip of his nose. There was a zoom and a plip, and a window opened in space and time, large enough for an arm to get through. I reached into it. "I'll explain later," I said. "Fate of the world at stake. I grabbed the milk from me 15 minutes earlier through the tiny space-time portal, so he grabbed the milk from himself." "You must like milk a lot," said the globby aliens, "but that craving for lactic liquids will not make us take pity on you or let you go and spare your badly designed planet." "It should," I said. "What am I holding in my left hand?" The milk," they said. "And what am I holding in my right hand?" They paused. Then one alien, so green and small and so globby and crusted that he might have been an enormous snot bubble blown by an elephant with a terrible head cold, said, "The same milk from 15 minutes earlier." "Exactly," I said. "Now think about this one very carefully. What would happen if I touched these two things together?" The globby aliens went a very pale green. The pirates, shiny black hair men, and the piranhas looked at them puzzled, seeking some kind of explanation, as did the vampires. "If two things that are the same thing touched," proclaimed the volcano god, "then the whole universe shall end. Thus saith the great and utterable Splod." "How does a volcano know so much about transtemporal metascience?" asked one of the pale green aliens. "Being a geological formation gives you a lot of time to think," said Splod. "Also, I subscribe to a number of learned journals." I coughed in what I hoped was an ominous sort of way. "Well?" I asked. "What he said," admitted the green gobbly aliens. "The bit about the universe ending." "So," I told them, "unless you wish to spend the rest of your lives in a universe that no longer exists, you had better return things to the way they were, and then go away." The aliens looked at each other. They grinned at each other. One of them pressed the Grundledorfer. The vampires, pirates, piranhas, volcano god, and the worshippers of the volcano god were gone. What if, suggested one of the green globby aliens hopefully, we only redecorated the southern hemisphere? Not a chance, I said. Now release us or the milk touches itself and then goes away. Leave the planet forever. The aliens looked at me, then they looked at each other, and then they sighed, with a noise like 100 elephantine snot balloons, all deflating at once. Right, they said. It was at that moment that a voice louder than anything I had ever heard, and I have heard a volcano erupt at very close range, said, "Galactic Police, do not move!" My hands shook, but the milk did not touch the milk, and the universe did not end. There were red and blue flashing lights, and then, stepping off their space bikes, were about half a dozen uniformed dinosaurs holding unmistakably large and extremely serious weapons. They pointed their weapons at the green gobbly aliens. "You are charged with breaking into people's planets and redecorating them," said a noble and imposing-looking Tyrannosaurus Rex, "and then with running away and doing it again somewhere else over and over. You have committed crimes against the inhabitants of 18 planets and crimes against good taste." "What did we do to Regal 4 was art," argued a globby alien. "Art? There are people on Regal 4, said an Ankylosaurus, who have to look up every night at a moon with 3 huge plaster ducks flying across it. Something very long with a head on the end of it came over to us. It was attached to a very large body on the other side of the room. "Who are you?" it asked Professor Stagg. "And why is your gorilla holding a transporally dislocated milk container?" "I am not a gorilla," I said. "I am a human father." Here's an illustration of the intergalactic police guys, police dinosaurs, all in their uniforms. "The human is holding the milk in order to make these evil redecorating snot bubbles go away and stop menacing this planet and us," said Professor Stagg. The Diplodocus in a police cap opened its mouth and didn't say anything. The Tyrannosaurus, who had handcuffed all of the green globby people together with something that looked a lot like pink string in a can, then it looked like handcuffs, which was a good thing because they probably didn't have hands and they definitely didn't have wrists, stared at us as his eyes opened wide. "Great day in the morning!" he exclaimed. "A biped, a stegosaurus, a floaty ball person carrier!" And he stopped, as if unable to go on. He just cannot believe what he's seeing for some reason. A pteranodon flapped over to us, then landed at Professor Stegg's feet. It looked up at him and said hesitantly, could you be the inventor of Professor Stegg's pointy zooming into outer space machine? Of Professor Stegg's really good moves around in time machine? Would you be the author of my travels into the extremely far future and what I found there, Professor Stagg? Wisest of all dinosaur kind? Madam, is it truly you? It is, said the professor. Madam, I thought, embarrassed. And this is my assistant. The pteranodon extended a wingtip for me to shake, and without thinking, I moved the second milk from my right hand to my left, where the first milk was. Everybody gasped. Unfortunately, the milk that had been in my right hand, which was the same milk as the milk that was already in my left hand, the same milk 15 minutes apart, touched each other. I held my breath. There was a fizzing noise and a meowing, as if 100 kittens had been agitated in an enormous basket. Professor Stagg closed her eyes. I can't look, she said. 3 purple dwarfs with flower pots on their heads appeared from nowhere and began to do a little dance. Did the universe end? Said the Tyrannosaurus with his eyes tightly crunched closed. Look, I said. We all watched the dwarves dance. They weren't human and they weren't dinosaurs. They had purple skin and the flower pots on their heads had lots of flowers growing out of them. They did a complicated sort of dance with lots of leg kicking and shouts of oi and ole and patung. And then, as strangely as they had come, they had vanished. Ah, said Professor Stagg, it was always a possibility that this might happen. And fortunately, the universe has not ended. She pressed the button again with her tail. A small hole in space and time opened up. I was standing on the other side with a baffled expression on my face. "Catch!" I shouted, and threw the milk through the hole. As the portal closed, I saw me catch the milk using my stomach. Sorry, the grammar is weird there. The green globby aliens having been rounded up and taken away, all the space dinosaurs gathered around. "I can't believe it," said the Diplodocus. "Professor Steg, just like in the comics, the dinosaur who taught us that in the future small mammals will eat their breakfast cereal with milk on it. Inventor of the button, she's here in front of us with her gorilla." They're just so happy that the Professor Steg, the famous Professor Steg, is here with her gorilla. But he's a human father, not a gorilla. And here we go. "Not a gorilla, but a human father," said Professor Steg. And all the other dinosaurs gasped and said things like, "How wise she is, and what a brain, and how can you tell the difference between that creature and a gorilla? Is it the shoes?" Professor Steg said, "This human father has been my companion on my strange journey into the future. Now before I take my leave of him and come with you, oh space dinosaurs, we should sing to him one of the great old dinosaur songs." They sang me a song in 6-part harmony called, "How do you feel this morning when you know what you did last night?" Then they sang a song called, "Don't go down to the tar pits, dear, because I'm getting stuck on you." The Space Police dinosaurs sang me a song about being space police and saving people all over the universe and driving very, very fast space bikes. And then they all sang a song called, "I've got a lovely bunch of hard, hairy, wet, white crunchers," which was coconuts, if you remember, which was an ancient dinosaur song that had apparently been written by Professor Steg's Aunt Button. There is nothing in the whole of creation as beautiful as dinosaurs singing in harmony. There's one of them singing. There's the rest of them. "Now," said Professor Steg, "I shall go off in my floaty ball person carrier with my newfound dinosaur space police friends, and I shall explore the universe. And then I shall return to my own time and write a book about it." "You actually write several books," said the Diplodocus. "Professor Steg's Guide to Everything in the Whole of the Future was my favorite. It's very inspirational." I said goodbye to all the dinosaurs. I thanked Professor Steg for saving my life. "Not at all," she said. "We were both fortunate that you had the milk with you. It is not every container of milk that saves the world, after all." "That was me that saved the world," I said, "not the milk." The space dinosaurs all had their pictures taken holding the milk and smiling at the camera. "What are you going to do with the milk?" they asked me. "Are you going to put it in a museum?" "No, I am not," I told them. "I'm going to give it to my children for their breakfast cereal, and possibly I will pour some in my tea." Professor Steg nipped back up the rope ladder and climbed into the gondola of her balloon. The last I saw of her, of any of them, the whole inside of the saucer was fading into light so bright I had to close my eyes and look away. And then I was standing at the back of our house, none of the worse for wear. Fortunately, the dinosaurs had given me back the milk after they had their photos taken with it. So I came in, and here I am. Here's an illustration. Saying goodbye to the space people and Professor Steg and everybody. Turn the page. That was what my dad said. I looked at my sister, and my sister looked at me. Then we both looked around the kitchen, at the calendar on the wall with the hot air balloons on it, at my dinosaur models and my sister's ponies, at my sister's vampire books, at the picture of a volcano I had painted when I was little last year and which is still up on the wall by the fridge. We looked at those things, and we looked at my dad. "You know, we don't believe any of this," said my sister. "We don't," I told him, "not any of it. Especially not how you saved the world from being remodeled, or the pirates." "Not any of it," I said. My father shrugged. "Suit yourselves," he said. "But it was all true, and I can prove it." "How?" "Yes, how?" asked my little sister. "Well," said my father, putting it down on the kitchen table, "here's the milk." And there he is, giving him the milk. And he went back to reading the paper. And he's got the sly look on his face. Because he had some proof. And the brother and sister, oh my gosh, here's another illustration, just freaking out over that milk. They're probably thinking, oh my gosh, it all really happened. And that's the end. Just have the last little end pages there. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this book. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was so cute, so funny. The characters were hilarious. Professor Steg, wow, she was a female. We didn't know that. She was actually a woman. So that was pretty interesting. A little surprise there for you. There were lots of surprises, lots of giggles in there. I hope that you had lots of good laughs there. I am going to post a short quiz over this book if you'd like, just for fun. I'm going to post it up on our Facebook page, so be looking out for that. I might start on it here in a little bit, so I'll have that posted soon, so keep an eye out for that. And we will continue with another chapter book reading here soon. I will let you all know on Facebook when that will be. So I will try to pick something, another fun, maybe another funny, interesting, wild adventure type book for you. So stay tuned for that. Have an awesome weekend, and I will see you guys on the flip side.